the first area that we might want to think about is digitalization. I think in this current pandemic situation, everybody is very familiar with the use of live video conferencing. It's very pervasive. Everybody's getting used to it, young and old. Is there optimal use when it comes to the use of technology? A lot of times the nuances do count, the body languages do count. And the reality is all this cannot come through two-dimensional video conferencing. And then the second area is all the latest technologies that's happening in this world. I'm sure many of us would have heard of IoT. We've heard of AR/VR, which stands for augmented reality and virtual reality. Of course, we have heard of 5G. And we have heard of big data and big data analytics. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of technology out there. As businesses, it's important that we understand or remember that tech tools are just a means to an end. And they are not an end on itself. Right? It's not so much a case of the more technology that you use, the better it is. We have to use the right technology for the right purposes. And the third thing that I really want to talk about is data. First and foremost, we need to understand what's the difference between big data and regular data. Some of these differences manifest itself in the 5 characteristics of big data. For example, volume, variety, velocity, veracity, and value. And I like to use the word sense making. How do we sense make all this data that's out there? And ultimately, we have to ask ourselves, with so much data coming out, what do we want to use the data for? And importantly, we need to have actionable insights. Right? So it's not just about having data. We need to get useful information that we can kind of act on and make better decisions on. Can we innovate new business models? Can I come up with new businesses, new revenue arising from the use of all this data? There's also one big issue that everybody's grappling with, which is privacy and security. Right? Because the more data we have in our possession, then there's always this issue of cybersecurity, and then it's this issue of privacy. So as you can see, from these 3 dimensions, there are a lot of opportunities that are presented, but coming with it all the challenges. They need to not only understand what technology can do, they also need to understand the pain points that is facing a particular domain of business. Right? So in a nutshell, they have to go broad, and at the same time, they have to go deep. So maybe let me cover very quickly what I mean by going broad. They have to understand what's the major trends around them. Right? Because a lot of things are going from geopolitics, economics, social changes, and so on and so forth. Climate change is another. The need to do things sustainable, smart cities, green cities, sustainable cities, green buildings, digitalization. So there's a lot of huge trends going on. So they need to understand. So then from there, they can start to figure out, leverage technology, as mentioned before, to solve some of the pressing issues facing all this, various verticals or industry. So having gone broad, now then they have to start developing understanding, and preferably a deeper understanding of the pain points around a particular industry or verticals. Technology has been very widely used in a variety of settings. It could be for supply chain management, it could be for healthcare, it could be for e-commerce and retail. And that's when you can then adapt or make best use of the skills that you're going to learn in your field of study for those reasons. Because if you do not understand the pain points, then they run a risk that you will not be solving the right problem for yourself, or maybe for your clients, or for the companies that you'll be working with.